Welcome to Parchment Update, an interview series from the Parchment Community Library to bring your community closer to you. I'm Karen Woodworth, Library Ambassador. Joining me today is Bill Christiansen. He has a photo exhibit on display at Biggby Coffee and Parchment titled The Mill That Made Parchment. Thank you for being here today.
Well, thanks for having me, Karen. I appreciate it.
Well, great. Well, I want to start by asking you, what led you to take photos at the mill property in Parchment?
Well, a few years back, I was taking a photography class at the Kalamazoo Institute of Arts, and a fellow student there suggested that he had access to that mill and that it would be a great place to take photographs. And so we met up and got some photographs. I was glad I took the opportunity to do that.
Okay, that kind of leads me to my next question about how recent are they? Are they fairly recent? Are they older? Sounds like you took them in just a short period of time. Is that correct?
Yeah, they are older actually. They're from 2017. And I was there about 4 hours and took them over the course of that 4 hours. And that's the only time I've ever been inside the mill.
Ah, do you have any personal connections to the mill in other ways?
I didn't at the time, but I kind of believe I do now through the experience of photographing it and through the photos themselves when I review them. There was at one time that mill made some of the best paper in the world, and there was a lot of work life, so to speak, going on in the place, and you could almost feel it. It was almost like photographing ruins at this point, but so I've kind of feel connected through the photography at this point.
Well, that makes sense. And I have to say, I haven't really been inside of the buildings, but I've been kind of around the buildings. And I get that sense too, that there's still a lot of spirit connected to them. So what would you like people to notice or to think about when they look at the photos?
I think that's going to be different for different people. If someone had actually worked there or actually worked their career there and retired from there, they're going to have a lot of different feelings compared to somebody that hasn't and was not familiar with the mill when it was an operating factory. Other people might appreciate the photography itself with a play between the shadows and the lights that are in some of the photographs. And then still others might appreciate or not appreciate, however you feel, about the graffiti all over the mill and depicted in some of the photographs.
Yeah, yeah. And some of the things pictured in the photographs, they look so abandoned. It does make me feel a little sad, some of those.
Yeah, and those were the ones that I put up there to kind of convey that feeling, because it basically is and has been for quite a while abandoned.
Yeah.
I think if I could just interject, I think the photographs really reflect the mill in a very beautiful way, just the way that Bill takes the photography. It really, tend to see the beauty in the ruins as opposed to kind of some of the other things.
All right. I think you should introduce your second person in the interview at this point.
Yeah, that's my wife, Deb, and she's my technical support for Zoom meetings, and also enjoys sharing. We do a lot of things together around the photography that I do, and so yes, when she interjects, it's usually a well-placed point. Her name's Deb Christiansen.
And thanks for that. And thanks for your comments. So how did you come to show your photographs at Biggby Coffee and Parchment?
Well, a little over a year ago, a Biggby owner with multiple stores in Grand Rapids partnered with the Grand Valley artists in Grand Rapids to show local art at all of their Biggby stores. And most of their Biggby stores are in the Grand Rapids area. And most Grand Valley artists, for that matter, live in the Grand Rapids area. But they had 6 stores down in the Kalamazoo, Portage, Parchment area that they also owned and wanted to show photography in. And Deb and I live in Schoolcraft, so we're a lot closer to those stores than someone that lives in Grand Rapids. So we volunteered to manage the art that rotates through the various Biggby stores in this part of Michigan, including the Parchment store. So with us kind of being in charge of what goes up, I knew I wanted to show these mill pictures at some point, and got them together. And I think it's fantastic that they're in a Parchment Biggby's just a couple of blocks from the mill itself.
Yeah, that is really nice placement. So I guess I want to ask you also, how are you assembling artwork for all the other locations?
Well, when we get Grand Valley Artist members that are interested in showing work, we'll schedule them for 3 months in one of the Biggby's. And when we don't have enough artists to show work in the different Biggby's, I have my work in there with just different themes, kind of as placeholders in a way, until we do get an artist that wants to show in this area.
Okay. Okay, well, we're talking kind of toward the end of July. How much longer will your exhibit be on display in Parchment?
I'm going to leave that up through September. So
Okay.
if people see this and haven't had a chance to see the display yet, they'll have time.
Okay, that sounds good. And where else can people see other examples of your photography?
Well, I am going to do a similar exhibit around heritage guitars, and those are being built at what was the former Gibson guitar factory in Kalamazoo, and I have toured the facility several times and photographed that. So I'm going to put up a similar display with the heritage guitar situation and building a heritage, I think I'm going to call it, and I'm going to put that up at the Gull Road Biggby's. And that'll go up sometime in August, be up for about 3 months. I'll also point out that I have a small gallery inside a resale shop called Nana D's Addict. It's on Portage Road in Kalamazoo area, approximately across from the airport. And in that small gallery, it is small, it's about 10 by 10 feet. But in that gallery, we show mainly Kalamazoo area photographs.
All right. Well, that sounds good. And it's always so interesting to kind of see these places that we might drive by every day, but see them from a different point of view, see them through someone else's eyes. So before we wrap up today, what else would you like us to know?
Well, I think it's important that we all support businesses that support the arts and support local artists. So if anybody is inclined to go check out the Mill That Made Parchment in the Biggby's Parchment there. And by the way, you don't need to schedule a whole afternoon to do it. It's 7 framed photographs on one small wall, but they are impactful, I think. But if you decide to stop by and take a look, order your favorite drink and support the business that is supporting the artist.
That's a good point and very well said. So thank you very much for taking the time today to share the information about the photographs with us.
Well, thanks for having me, Karen. I really appreciate it. It was fun.